In the last video, we just went and set up some responsive design in our header. Now we're going to go in and start wiring up some of the functionality of the header and get it ready to actually navigate like the header is supposed to. Let's head on over to the code editor to get started. Alright, so I'm here at the code editor, and the first thing that I want to do actually before we even get our Gatsby server up and running, so if you have it running already, go ahead and stop your Gatsby server, although you can leave the Strappy server running. And let's open up our gatsby-config.js, and here where we had set up our font families, it looks like I accidentally missed one. We're going to go ahead and add to Montserrat N6. That'll get us the 600 font weight, still with a normal font style, and that will be for styling our tabs. We needed semi-bold, and I had missed that one before. So go ahead and save that. Then we can close out a Gatsby config, and go ahead and you can npm run develop in your front end folder to get the Gatsby server back up and running. Alright, and while that's running, we'll go ahead and continue. And we can talk about the two different main ways of navigating within Gatsby. So you might be familiar with React Router in projects using Create React App, but here in Gatsby, it actually is going to provide us some functions for navigation itself. We can scroll down here under our import from make styles, and we can import, and we will destructure these out. The first is going to be the link, and the second is going to be navigate. As a function, and make sure you have the uppercase and lowercase there correct. Alright, and we will import those from Gatsby itself. Now, there's two different uses for each of these different pieces of functionality, the link and the navigate function. Link is a component, and you use the link component when we actually want something like a button to click on and take us to another page, just like we want for the tabs in our header. Navigate is a function that we can use to programmatically navigate us, say if you wanted to move to a new page after the execution of a function or after something else has taken place. So for example, if we scroll all the way down here, where we had our icon button that is set up with our either the menu or our account, we said that we're going to set drawer open if we're at matches medium, and that means we'll have the menu. But if we are not at matches medium and we have the account, then currently we're not doing anything. So what we would do here instead is we would call the navigate function, and then we can pass inside of a string the route that we'd like it to navigate to. Okay, so we can do /account. Go ahead and save that. Make sure your Gatsby server is finished. Looks like we're good. And then we could flip back on over to the browser. And here I'm at my large screen size, so I'm not medium, so I don't have the menu icon, but I have the account icon. And now if I go ahead and click that, well, you can see that we were navigated up in our browser to /account. And currently we don't have a page at /account yet. That's what it's saying right here. And so it's giving us the 404 page. Alright, but that shows that the navigation was successful, and if we did have an account page, we would now have been navigated over to there. So I'll go ahead and go back to the home page, and that is how we will do programmatic navigation in Gatsby. Okay, but I'm actually going to delete that because we're going to refactor this slightly to clean up some of this code. But the other way that we'll use to navigate is using the link component. We actually have a really convenient way of using this though, thanks to Material UI. So if I were to come onto our icon button holding our cart icon, on the icon button and on all Material UI components, we have a special prop provided by Material UI called component. Okay, so the component prop on any of the Material UI components allows us to pass in another component that we would like our main component that's receiving the prop to take the functionality of. Alright, so a common use case for this, and it wouldn't make sense here on our button, but we could go ahead and on lots of other components, say the grid component, when we start getting into that, if we wanted that to be able to be clicked on, we could use the component prop and then pass in the button component. And now this icon button, or if it was the grid in that example, I'll just do that for just example's sake here. So this would turn the grid component into a button while maintaining all the functionality of the grid and the button. So it combines it into sort of one component, giving you the functionality of both. This is really helpful and allows us to do some pretty cool things. But one of the most common things that I use for this, I'll bring that back, is setting the component equal to link. And now that link component that we imported from Gatsby is now going to apply its properties to the icon button. All right, so that means that any props that we pass to this component that are not used by this component will then get passed down to the link component. Okay, so that means that we can pass the props that we would normally pass to the link directly on the icon button, and thanks to the component prop, those will get carried over into the link. Okay, so the link component expects a to prop, and this is the route that we'd want to navigate to. So in this case, we could do to/cart. If we go ahead and save that, let's flip back on over, and now if I go up to the cart and I give that a click, you see in the browser, we're now navigated to /cart, and we see that familiar 404 page telling us we don't actually have a cart page, but the navigation was successful. I'll go back to the home page again and back to the code editor. And so now you've seen the two main ways that we will use to navigate throughout our application. Now, I think we could clean this up a little bit because we're actually basically repeating the exact same code for all of these icon buttons, except for the menu icon. That's going to do a little bit different because it is setting the drawer open. It is not going to navigate to a route, so we'll separate that. But all of the code for the other buttons is going to be the exact same. So we could do this in a little bit of a more programmatic way. So let's come up here, and underneath our const of drawer, let's go ahead and create a const of actions. Call these actions, and we'll go ahead and set this equal to an array. And we'll make this an array of objects, and we'll use this to store the information for each of our actions, and then map over the actions to create our button for each one. So inside of here, let's go ahead and add an icon property. So the first one, I'll go ahead, and this will be the search icon, and then an alt property, and we'll make that the string search. Okay, and we'll go ahead and add another object. This will be with an icon for our cart, and an alt of the string cart, and then we'll do one for an icon of account, and the alt of account. All right, so now we'll be able to replace the code here. Let's go ahead and save that. So now we've got our actions. And now we can come under our drawer and tabs, and we will again inject some JavaScript, and let's take our actions and map over them. So that'll give us each individual action. And then for each action, we will simply return, and let's use a multi-line statement here, and we'll return our icon, button, and the image. So I'll go ahead and cut this first one, paste it right into there. So our icon button, but now we'll leave the class name of classes.icon because that's going to be the same for all of these. But for the source, instead of hard coding in the search icon, we'll go ahead and pull that from our action here, the individual action that we're mapping over, dot icon. Since this is our object, we're mapping over this array, so the individual action is the object, and then dot icon will give us the icon we've imported. All right, and then for alt, we'll do the same thing. We'll make this our action.alt, and now we'll be programmatically creating one for each of our actions. So that's going to be a lot cleaner, and now we can clean this up a little bit. So we'll go ahead and get rid of that. And this icon button, instead of customizing the functionality based on matches MD and having it handle both of these, we'll go ahead and set this up just for our menu icon. But it's really helpful to know that you can customize the functionality in content like this. So that's why I showed this example. But we can go ahead, and now this will just be for our menu. So we'll just have it on click. And we'll go ahead and set drawer open to true. Make sure you get the parentheses right there. And now we can come down and remove our matches MD checks and just pass in the source of menu and an alt of menu as well. And we don't need those braces there anymore. All right, so that looks good. I'll clean that up a little bit. All right, and now we just need to take this icon button and we need to conditionally just render that entire thing based on matches MD. So if we are at the medium breakpoint, let's go ahead and we will render this guy. So we'll use parentheses, paste that there. Otherwise, null. So otherwise we won't have anything. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And we should be able to flip back on over and we see we've still got our icons, and when we go down to the breakpoint, we still get our menu icon, although we do also now have all those other ones. So actually, let's just refactor this. I thought of a way that it'll clean that up and it'll make it so we don't even need this extra one. We'll come in here and let's add an extra action with an icon of our menu and an alt of the menu. Okay, and let's also, we're gonna add another property of visible, and let's set it to true for the ones that we always want to stay there. So cart and search will have a visible of true, but for account, we don't want it visible if it is below the matches MD breakpoint. So visible would be not matches MD, and visible for the menu, we want it to be matches MD. So when this is true, the menu will be visible and the account will not be. All right. And now we can come down here. Let's go ahead and we'll take the on click. And what we'll do is we'll just set an on click on our menu action in the object. So on click here in the object, and we'll just do this for the menu. We can actually set a function, and we'll just pass our set drawer open to true here. Okay, so now we have the onClick function stored in our action object. So now we can go ahead and remove this extra check. Sorry, hopefully this wasn't too confusing. I just thought that we can clean this up even more right now. And so now we have all of our actions coming just from this one statement with just the one icon button. We'll still have classes.icon for all of them. We'll still have source of action.icon, but we can go ahead and add an onClick equal to action.onClick. All right, and so for our other actions that don't have an onClick function, that will just not apply anything, but for our menu, that will apply the correct function right there.